Hello everybody, welcome to another WeatherCast America Quickcast for April 26, 2025. In this forecast, we're going to break down a potent severe weather system developing in the Rockies and High Plains over the weekend that will bring the possibility and really the likelihood of severe storms to the upper Midwest down through the southern plains on Monday, and bring additional severe weather risks further south and east over the early part of the coming week. So let's get into it. First, here's a look at today's weather. The Storm Prediction Center issued a slight risk, a level 2 out of 5, for areas in southern Oklahoma, North Texas, and the Arklatex in the Red River Valley. As of Saturday morning, we see the remnants of a mesoscale convective system working through the Red River Valley, generally with degrading thunderstorms this morning, but the boundary from that MCS could spark more storm development, especially with daytime heating later in the afternoon. A marginal risk extends back into West Texas and up into the High Plains, as there still is a threat for some isolated activity later this afternoon from that lee side low that caused the stormy weather in the region this week, as moisture from the Gulf to the southeast collides with that boundary against drier air to the west.
And a quick update within an update. As we were working on editing, the Storm Prediction Center updated the risk area for eastern New Mexico and West Texas around the Permian Basin. Outflow boundaries from storms this morning and overnight are going to collide with that still existing dry line in eastern New Mexico, and against that pool of moisture from the southeast, the Gulf moisture, against that cooler and drier air mass over the Rockies, that is going to enhance the possibilities of severe weather in eastern New Mexico into West Texas later this afternoon. Again, mostly like we've seen all week, hail and damaging winds are the primary threats, but a tornado or two is also possible.
A marginal risk, level 1 out of 5, also exists today in the mid-Atlantic into the northeast, ahead of a short wave of low pressure diving southeast from Canada. With some daytime heating and destabilization out in front of that low, some strong to severe thunderstorms may fire along the I-95 corridor later this afternoon. Some of these storms will bring beneficial rain to South Jersey, an area that's been fighting wildfires for much of the week. On Sunday, attention turns to the High Plains, where moisture will pool against a dry line just in time for a jet streak from that developing storm system that's expected to intensify over the region in the late afternoon. Isolated to widely scattered severe storms, primarily with large hail, will be the primary threat for Sunday, and then on into Monday. As of filming this video on Saturday morning, the Storm Prediction Center already has a rare Day 3 moderate risk, a level 4 out of 5 for severe weather on Monday. And just how rare is a Day 3 moderate risk? Well, this is the first time a Day 3 moderate risk has been issued for portions of Minnesota and Wisconsin since 2011. On Monday, we'll watch that low pressure ejecting from the Rockies deepen over the High Plains. Out ahead of that low and its trailing cold front / dry line, the models indicate a large, ample warm sector with dew points reaching into the middle to upper 60s ahead of that boundary. There still is some time for model refinement, but as of now, the GFS shows even the mid-60s dew points wrapping into the northeast quadrant of that low, well north of the Twin Cities, near Duluth, Minnesota, by Monday afternoon. Along with that ample amount of moisture, we can see the surface-based cape, essentially storm super booster juice, is on the higher end, well beyond the cape needed for supporting severe weather, especially in parts of Iowa, northern Missouri, and into extreme western Illinois. The GFS even shows cape in the range of 3,000 to 3,500 joules per kilogram. That's over 3 times the amount of cape needed to support strong thunderstorms. So to recap, our model projections show dew points, the amount of water in the air, and the CAPE, convective available potential energy, the measure of buoyancy or instability in the atmosphere, are both very high and capable of sustaining severe thunderstorms. But do those ingredients have a trigger point? And the answer to that is yes. Here's a look at the 500 millibar height jet stream dynamics, about 18,000 to 20,000 feet in altitude. And here we can see that max push into the upper Midwest over the region of high dew points and high CAPE in the afternoon. This model shows 80 to 90 knot winds in that area, and we can also look lower in the atmosphere at the 800 millibar height. And once again, we see strong winds over that region of high CAPE and high dew points. This looks at the winds in the range of about 5,000 feet in altitude, and it shows ample low-level winds, increasing from 50 knots in the late afternoon on Monday to over 70 knots by Monday evening across portions of Iowa, a lot of Wisconsin, and into northern Illinois and even Michigan by late on Monday. Between the lower level surface winds, upper level wind dynamics, moisture, and energy, it does show that the environment is very conducive to severe weather on Monday. As of filming this video, the Storm Prediction Center has strong wording on Monday's outlook. Quote, "An outbreak of severe weather is likely across portions of the Midwest and upper Midwest. Large hail, severe wind gusts, and strong to intense tornadoes are likely." Unlike Weather YouTube and other media outlets, the Storm Prediction Center is not into hyping up events, so this wording is particularly powerful, especially a few days out. We go over this weekend your severe and tornado plans in your household and also places of business. That way you're ready to go on Monday, especially late afternoon and into the evening when severe weather affects the area. As we get a little closer to the event, we'll have a little more model guidance on storm mode, but right now it does appear that the environment is capable of supporting both discrete prefrontal supercells as well as a squall line developing along the cold front that will bring hazards for damaging winds and embedded QLCS tornadoes across a wide area of the upper Midwest. We may also see additional but more conditional storm development further south across eastern Kansas, Oklahoma, and into north central Texas, where we'll have warm surface temperatures, a high dew point, but a little less upper level wind dynamics, and likely a little stronger cap. This area may fire later, closer to the time of sunset when the nocturnal low level jet increases, and that can help aid storm development. Like what we've seen this past week, the cold front / dry line combo sweeping across that region may also help initiate storm development and compensate for lower levels of forcing. Although more isolated, if storms do fire, they could pose an all hazards threat, like we've also seen this week, with large hail, damaging winds, and a tornado or two, as supercells or strong multicellular clusters work over that region. But we're not done yet. On Tuesday, we'll look to the eastern Great Lakes, into the Ohio Valley, and back into areas of North Texas. The Storm Prediction Center outlines an expansive Day 4 risk as the storm system and trailing cold front work to the south and east from the upper Midwest on Monday. As the low pressure works across Canada, the highest probability of all hazards is likely in that region up into the St. Lawrence Valley of southeast Quebec. That region will have closer proximity to the low and still ample moisture ahead of the cold front. On Wednesday, the Storm Prediction Center highlights North Texas into the Arklatex as the boundary stalls in that region and separates a cooler, drier air mass to the north with warm, unstable air mass to the south. That stalled boundary will likely be a focal point for clusters of strong to severe thunderstorms. There are also indications that the general troughing will persist over the Rockies this week, with another low that may eject into the southern plains by Wednesday or Thursday. If that happens, that could enhance the severe weather possibilities that day for the Red River Valley. That could also enhance the threat for storms and potential flooding from heavy rains as that system deepens and works its way into the mid-Mississippi and Ohio valleys by Thursday and Friday. Looking further out into next weekend, we can see signs of a pattern very similar to the current weekend, with a ridge building in the central US and some troughing from the low pressure working east across the Atlantic seaboard, and a deepening trough in the west, with another potentially potent trough ejection into early next week, around Monday, May 5th, Tuesday, May 6th. So, we'll be busy here again on WeatherCastUSA with additional forecast videos and live severe streaming coverage. Please like and subscribe and click that bell icon to get notifications when we go live. As we near the peak of severe weather season, it's important to stay weather aware and have multiple ways to get warnings and updates. Have a great weekend, everyone.